What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. I've been covering that story out of Sissonville, West Virginia. Shout out Sissonville, in which these two people up here, these two pieces of human garbage, Jeannie Whitefeather, age 62, Donald Lance, age 63. Supposedly husband and wife, who knows? But either way, these people here are the ones that adopted the five black children out there in I think it was California or Washington State or whatever it was initially. These children were from Detroit, supposedly, and they come from a broken home, and they're going through trial right now after they were caught in Sissonville, West Virginia, with children locked up in a shed and some locked in the house, where they are being charged with forced labor, child abuse, human trafficking after treating these children like slaves. And let's not sugarcoat it, they treated these kids as such. What I'm about to show you is a summary of what's been going on in the courtroom so far. And it's a 7-minute long video, and you're going to be shocked at what you hear. These people before said, oh, we didn't treat them bad. We didn't treat them like slavery, because remember, supposedly these children were picked because of their race and because they thought they would make good with labor and having them work on these properties that they were buying, these elaborate big properties. And I was wondering when I seen this, how are they affording all of this stuff and, all these acreage and stuff like this? You might get your answer when you see this. This is truly messed up that these are human beings and these people treated them like that. And I'm going to be honest with you. They need to be dispatched right now. Take a look at this and I'll come back with commentary, and I'll try to keep my composure, because both of these people here are, playing stupid. And the rest of the world know they liars. Look.
The human trafficking, child abuse, and forced labor trial for Sissonville couple Jeannie Whitefeather and Donald Lance continues now tomorrow.
But since there's no court today, Anna Saunders, who's been covering this for us, joins us live in the studio. And Anna, this has been an absolutely heartbreaking to watch as more information unfolds. Can you now bring us up to speed on all of the major developments that we know from the court so far?
Well, Peyton, Gina, this trial now heads into week 2, and the state has still not rested its complex case, as we have heard from neighbors, police, experts, and now we're to the point where we are hearing from the children victims. But we do want to warn you, some of the footage we've seen in court so far is difficult to watch.
It's been 4 days of emotional testimony and hard-to-watch evidence, all leading up to one of the victims, the oldest child, taking the stand on Friday as she detailed years of abuse from Whitefeather and Lance, taking us all the way to the moment she and her brother were found locked in that Sissonville shed in October of 2023. But it's hard to say where this situation would be today had it not been for the first 5 people who took the stand on Tuesday, the Sissonville neighbors and a home health worker. They immediately noticed in May of 2023, when Whitefeather and Lance moved in, that something was not right and began calling CPS and law enforcement about it.
I was afraid that they would move away and those little kids, nobody would be there to help them.
To the neighbors, it was the children's work in the yard and the standing in a line in all weather that seemed inappropriate for their ages. They said the work never came with any kind of play or break, and one of them even confronted Lance about it, which he denied, saying that they did play. And then when the neighbors began suspecting that 2 of them were locked in a shed, it was this October 2nd, 2023 call to the non-emergency line from home health worker Candace Hilbert that brought police to the shed.
He has 2 kids locked in an outbuilding. They've been in there for days.
And then the jury heard from police officers involved, from the deputy who did the initial check and helped break down the locked shed door to lead investigator Lieutenant Anna Pyle with the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, who walked us through 5 days of camera footage of the children. Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residence together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo cameras saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd.
You're okay.
The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with 2 of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment, where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. We saw one text where Lance said, quote, somebody didn't say thank you, and his sandwiches disappeared. We also saw more video from Whitefeather's phone from their time in Washington that also showed yelling and physical abuse from Lance. A finance expert from the West Virginia Fusion Center, Alyssa Ledbetter, also took the stand on Friday. She broke down the adoption payments Whitefeather and Lance received from Minnesota. She said in total of what they analyzed from 2019 to 2023, the two received about $318,000 in adoption support payments, but she testified this didn't tell the whole story.
Well, the assistance began in June of 2018, and I only had from June of 2019 to November of 2023. So altogether, we're missing about 18 months.
All of this leading up to the most harrowing testimony so far on Friday afternoon from someone who lived it. We are not allowed to film or record the victims who will testify in this case, but we're in the room as the teen girl, now 18, but 16 at the time, shared what her life was like both in Washington State and in Sissonville. She said life progressively got worse with Whitefeather and Lance once they moved to the ranch in Washington in 2019. This is when the outdoor labor began, she said, and the physical punishments that included hits from a PVC pipe. While under a child services investigation there in Washington, eventually they moved to Sissonville, but she did not know why. She talked about how CBS was called soon after they arrived in West Virginia, and she detailed a visit from a worker who stayed on the porch and talked to them through the screen door. The teen testified she was not honest with CPS because Lance could hear her from where she was standing. Eventually, she and her teen brother, who has several mental health disorders, were locked in a shed in August of 2023. She said she went without a shower for 2 months and never changed clothes. She went from sleeping on a mattress to the floor with a sleeping bag. Her brother slept on the concrete floor with only cardboard at his head. She said she was forced to be his babysitter, but testified he was never the dangerous, violent kid that Lance and Whitefeather made him out to be. She recalled the use of physical violence, pepper spray, and racial slurs from Lance and Whitefeather. She recalled also being scared when police arrived at the shed, worried that she would say something to upset Whitefeather. Some of her more emotional moments came during cross-examination by Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants. At one point, he referred to Whitefeather as her mother, and she quickly corrected him. He questioned why some of her interviews before this contradicted what she said on the stand, but when Tuck asked her why she felt comfortable telling the truth now, she said, because I know I won't have to go back to that.
Now, tomorrow morning, court is expected to get going around 8:30. 2 more of the children are set to testify, and then it will be the defense's turn to present their cases. Live in the studio, Anna Saunders, Eyewitness News.
That's the news. 3 things stick out to me when I watched that upset me. First thing is this. They talk about, oh, we didn't treat them like slaves and this and that. The actions y'all did proved otherwise. Another thing is this. They called them monkeys and pigs. Did you hear that? Said in one of the text messages, somebody didn't say thank you, so I took their sandwich away with a crying emoji. I want you to think about that. These children were punished just because they were children and they were black. And they were used to be submissive to these people. And when that didn't happen and they showed any human element within themselves, they were punished for it. I told you, for people to do inhumane things to you, they have to look at you as not human. And you've seen it right there. They called them animals. When in turn, these are the animals. When these people get convicted, and they will get convicted, I'd put both of them on a wing with all black folk. There'd be the only white spot on the page. I'll put them both on the thing and let them dudes and them women tear them apart. That's messed up, to selectively pick children, not to help them, but to use them for your benefit while collecting the check. $318,000+ they got were awarded in adoption pay for treating these children less than human. Unacceptable. Take them outside and dispatch them. Said the girl, the oldest that's a girl, was talking. Said, I ain't got to go back over there, so I'm telling all of this. Did you see in the other video I showed about this last week? When the police knocked on the door, they were so scared of Donald Lance and his punishment that they ran to the camera, and was trying to find out what do they do, even though help was right outside the door. Psychological abuse, physical abuse. You beating somebody with a PVC pipe. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how vicious that is? Especially if it's 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch PVC bending. It's almost like a whip. You hitting these kids with that? They said a CPS worker came over there and talked to him outside, but through a screen door. Donald Lance in the cut listening. They can't even tell because of the fear of what had happened to them. This is unheard of, man. Unheard of. Nowadays, it's unheard of. You seen the witnesses. They said as soon as they moved in, they knew something was right. See the lady up there, the white lady up there talking, crying and shit. Soon as they got in there, they seen crazy stuff, making them stand in line, stand outside. Why they gotta stand up with their hands like common criminals? So that show how they think about them. Like common criminals before they can go to bed. Or when they stand up, they gotta do that. Why do you got boys housed with girls of age? Got them on the floor with a fucking tarp like they're fucking livestock. They don't want them to shit and piss on the floor. Disgusting. Disgusting. I ain't feeling this shit. This right here is outrageous. For that to be happening this time, man, look, take them outside and blast them right now. For real, you blast the man first so the woman know what's coming, because she was helping with that shit. As a man, you a leader. And a lot of what's inside of you came out and was put on to them children. You need your face torn off. And your wife too. It's bullshit. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll keep up with this story. This is absolutely horrible to even hear and even envision nowadays.